the old idea that accounting is really bookkeeping is no longer accurate. Perhaps maybe 30 or 40 years ago, accountants used to do a lot of bookkeeping. But these days, most of that work is already done electronically through computers. So accountants don't really spend much time keeping the books. They do spend a lot more time inside the firm trying to understand what is the best way to tell the company's story. So they make a lot more strategic decisions. They work very closely with managers to try to understand the cost of different products and their profits and how to make the business better. So you can think of the internal accountants acting more like consultants and strategists than they do as record keepers. And then on the outside world, when we start talking about auditors, they really become partners to the executive team and helping them understand what works and what doesn't inside that business. So if you're coming into accounting with the idea that you're going to do a lot of bookkeeping, that would definitely not be accurate. You really should think of yourself as a partner to the executive team if you get, in one of those positions. Another thing to keep in mind about accounting that I think is very important is that this is one of the few places I believe that that gives you a very straightforward path towards professional success. I myself have a background in finance, and I did my undergraduate in finance and economics. And I always found the finance world, especially Wall Street, to be a bit cliquey, where, in order to get ahead, you needed some serious connections with various people that are already in that position. And of course, Rutgers can provide a lot of that because our alumni are already in many of these top posts. However, in accounting, that is not really needed. All you need is to do well in your classes and do well on the CPA. And once you achieve those two things, you'll find yourself very quickly being employed by some of the best organizations in the world. And if you work diligently and you're smart about it, in 4 or 5 years, you may even be a partner, easily making, $300,000-$400,000. So there are very few places in the world, I feel, that you can go from being in high school or community college and then 4 years later making $150,000 without without needing some extraordinary connections. Okay. And I've seen that time and time again when our best students, they come in just like you guys are now thinking about, what the future is gonna bring. They work hard for 3 or 4 years, and even before they graduate, they line up 4 or 5 incredible offers at some of the best organizations in the world, right? And they transform in front of my eyes in these very successful professionals. And then they come back 3 or 4 years down the road after they work for these firms, and just the transformation is absolutely incredible. So among all the possibilities, not that I'm trying to sell accounting, but among all of these possibilities, I think accounting is probably the most straightforward path to becoming a successful profession, right? And that's very, very important as you're trying to figure out what area you should spend, your few hours that you have available in any given day. So it's really a good investment, and it's a very straightforward investment compared to some of the other fields. And another good thing about accounting is it doesn't really get affected as much by cyclical business conditions. We find that accounting has one of the most consistent hiring rate across all of the other majors, because in good times, people need accountants to help them understand their profits. And then in bad times, they need accountants to help them understand their losses. So accountants are sort of always needed no matter what. And with more and more regulation coming out, more accountants are needed in all the areas of the business world. They got accountants working on Wall Street, they got accountants working for all the major firms, they got accountants working for the big auditors, for the small auditors, for the tax guys. So really, the world is your playing field if you do well in this area. And of course, Rutgers has a wonderful record of working with all the major firms. So something to keep in mind.
You bring up a very interesting point, though. Accounting among the business fields is probably the most skills based major. That is, there is a body of knowledge. Are tax regulations. And if you want to go into tax, you need to know those regulations. There are GAAP regulations for how to compile external financial information and present it to the public. And you need to know those regulations. If you want to go into audit, you need to know not just the GAAP regulations for compiling financial information, but you need to know the rules that you need to follow in order to do an effective audit. If you are interested in accounting information systems, that is, developing the systems that firms will use when they input their data and when they extract meaningful information, you also need to understand how the systems work. So it is creative, but it is not creative in the same way that a career in finance or management or marketing would be. And it's always based in applying specific techniques and specific rules to unique situations to try to make that information more comprehensible. And if that appeals to you, then this could be a terrific field for you.
And just to add to that, then emphasize what Anne is saying, is that there is a body of knowledge in accounting that is very well defined, and it is very much achievable. If you put in the work and the time, you will be able to master it. And at the same time, there are accounting positions that give you the ability to apply this knowledge to new situations, whether it be as in consulting with management or developing new products or thinking of way to control costs. So you have both sides of an interesting career where you have enough well-defined tasks on one hand, but also new areas where you can apply that knowledge. And I think the body of knowledge in accounting is perhaps the most comprehensive among the rest of the majors. There's a very well-defined set of skills that you will be learning, which of course culminate in you passing the CPA exam. Remember, accounting is the only major in the business school that has that has a nationwide test that you need to pass in order to call yourself a certified public accountant. There's a reason for that, because the body of knowledge is very well defined.
Which is also an interesting point. There are some careers in accounting that don't require a CPA license that are perfectly good, useful things to do. You can be an accountant for a corporation, either a management accountant who's in charge of understanding costs and making strategic choices relating to, for example, various products, or you could become like a financial advisory service where you make recommendations to firms about how to structure various deals. Those kinds of positions don't require a CPA. But if you want to be an auditor or you want to be a tax accountant, you need that CPA license. And if you think that that might be a career path that would be important to you, then you need to start planning from the beginning of your business education to make sure that you take all the right combination of courses. And you've got to remember that currently a Rutgers undergraduate degree is 120 credit hours, but in order to get that CPA license, you need 30 more credits. You can graduate from Rutgers with 120. You can take the CPA exam, but you can't get that license unless you have 30 more credits. So now you have to think, how do I want to spend my 30 additional credits that I'm going to be paying for? And the answer shouldn't be taking a lot of really easy courses, because that's not going to help you in your career. It's not going to give you value. What you should be doing is either option A, possibly double majoring in something that is related to your career goals, like supply chain or finance, or option B, getting a Master of Accountancy degree that not only will give you the 30 credits that you need, but will also give you additional accounting skills that will help you to pass the CPA exam. Does that about sum it up?
Yeah, and I just want to add also that, at Rutgers, we're very much aware of the need to pass the CPA exam and get to the 150 credit hours. So we are actually in the process now of devising new ways for you to get to the 150 credit hours by having special accounting CPA track major, where you would have the chance to take 138 credit hours as an undergraduate and then another 12 hours at the graduate level. And some of those extra credits may probably be sponsored by some of our donors. So we are working very hard to make the 150 credit hours more attainable and helping you get through the CPA exam. Because to be a successful accountant, I agree with Ann that there are places where you don't need a CPA, but in all of these places you'll be in far better position if you do have a CPA. So a CPA comes with a very high premium on the kind of salaries people will pay for your services. So your goal, no matter what, should be to go through and get your CPA. It's almost like becoming a doctor, right? Once you're CPA, you kind of become a part of a profession. You're professionally certified, and people will seek you out, and you will always get the job compared to somebody without a CPA. And we at Rutgers are very sensitive to that, and we are working. We actually right now we are having discussions on how to help students get to that goal, because it is not easy. Accounting as a major is perhaps the hardest of all majors, and I'm saying that not to scare you, but to let you know the truth so that you're prepared to fight for it. And it's worth it. It's worth to fight for it, but it is not a major that you can pass. Yeah, you cannot kind of walk your way through it without preparation and effort. It just doesn't work. It requires a lot of effort. It requires commitment, hard work, many hours. But the good news is, you know what? In 5 years, you will be a professional, and that will be something that will stay with you for the rest of your life. And it's a good investment to make in yourself. But I like to hear from you guys as students. I mean, what is it that you like to know? What kind of questions do you have about the major or at Rutgers or the way how we run things that may help you think about your choices? So just jump in and ask us either me or Ann. Go ahead.
I definitely do have a question. So, my name's Mariah, and since I am changing my major, this is completely new to me. So, I'm used to learning about psychology, I'm used to learning about, behaviors and children, things like that. So, I do understand that it will be a lot of work. So when you were in, so when you first started, how did you manage to, take on that challenge and then, also working a lot? So that's something that always been on my mind very often, because sometimes when you hear things about business, and it's a huge stigma against it, in terms of, oh, people quit their jobs working in business, and because it's so stressful, and people are miserable, and I don't think that's true. So I just want to know what I'm preparing for mentally, so that I know that this is exactly what I want.
Mariah, I need to answer your question because before I went into accounting, I was a middle school chemistry teacher for many years.
Oh.
So I relate to your uncertainty, but I want you to know that the skills that you picked up as you prepared to become a teacher are not wasted. One of the things that accountants do most is explain things to other people. If you're an auditor, you need to explain to your audit client why they have to do things in one way and not in some other way. If you are a management accountant for a firm, that means you're going to be explaining to the production manager the impact on the firm's profitability of making this product versus that product. Or you're going to be explaining to the marketing department why one product is more profitable than another. My point is that what you have already learned, what you liked about teaching, is going to be your friend if you go into business. Is teaching difficult? It sure is. You have students, you have to deal with parents, you have to deal with administrators. Business is difficult too. You have to deal with clients, you have to deal with bosses, you have to deal with subordinates. Everything's difficult. And that's why it's worth something. If it was easy, it wouldn't have much value.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
And regarding the other part of your question, in terms of, I think I'm getting this question on life-work balance, perhaps.
Yes.
I think most people that say that folks in business are miserable are probably not in business.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially accounting is sort of unique among the other majors in the sense that the big accounting firms, like the big national firms and also the large regional players, are incredibly sensitive to life work balances of their employees, and they're becoming more so each year. In fact, some of the best companies to work for are the large audit firms. PwC, KPMG, Deloitte, Ernst and Young. They're actually the leaders in terms of setting a life-work balance to their employees. So you will be shocked at the type of flexibility you can get at some of the professional organizations compared to what you can get anywhere else. And it's a very simple math for these firms. They want you to stay and to be happy with them because it is very hard for them to find a replacement for you. If you're a good employee, you already have your CPA, you're going to be bringing a lot of value to them, and they don't want to lose you. So they would work with you, I mean, within reason, of course, to try to keep you as part of their team. Traditionally, all businesses have not been doing well in this area, but I think in the last 10 years, well, what we've been seeing is that, the kind of comments we get from our students and also from the firms themselves suggest that they are very much aware of that, and they work very hard to keep you happy. Not to mention that you will be well compensated for your time. So,
Yeah.
yeah, the way to think about it, anywhere you start in business, the first few years will be very tough, because you're just starting out. There'll be a lot to learn and there'll be long hours. But even within this, in accounting, the long hours tend to be concentrated within certain periods of the year when companies have to prepare their financial statements. And through the rest of the time, there's really quite a bit of flexibility. One thing I know, for example, is that a lot of the big firms, when they were hit with this crisis now, and people had to switch to working remotely, them, it really wasn't a big deal because most of the people already had the choice of working remotely.
Yeah.
So a lot of them already worked remotely. So they don't, you know, we have firms where you don't have to go into the office unless, you know, you have to meet a client or you have to meet with your manager. So a lot of the work was done almost as an independent contractor. As long as you finish your job, they give you quite a bit of flexibility on that. So
Yeah.
I don't think that that is an issue in terms of the actual life balance, life
Mhm.
work balance. I think you would find that to be one of the benefits of being in accounting. Um, the other thing you brought up is sort of, you know, well, how would you manage it if you also have a job that you know, that you need to keep? So a lot of our students actually work outside of school, and our recommendation to them is to minimize that to the extent possible and think of it as an investment into their future.
Yes,
The
definitely.
the more time you spend now in your studies, the better off you're going to be later on. So even, you know, as long as you have enough to get by on, that should be your only concern. And from
Mhm.
that point on, you should just focus on your studies because otherwise, every additional dollar you make is going to cost you $100 5 years from now.
Yeah. Mhm.
It's just not worth it, right? So
Mhm.
you kind of have to go in it thinking that, you know, my years at Rutgers will be pretty lean. I'm just going to work only as much as I need to make ends meet. But I know that in 4 years, I'm going to get that CPA and I'm going to get that starting salary. I think starting salaries, and correct me if I'm wrong, in the big audit firms are something like 65, $70,000 with $5,000 to $10,000 bonus, signing bonus. You can travel around the world to meet with different clients. They'll pay for your CPA exam. I mean, it really is a different world out there. So you say,
Yeah.
well, is it worth struggling for 4 or 5 years to get there? Absolutely. I mean, where else would you make that kind of trade-off, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, it's going to be really hard, no doubt, right? Because you have to have the time to study, otherwise it's not going to work. But I see people do it every year, and they do it successfully. So you probably won't be able to work as much as you would like,
Mhm.
but that's okay because in 4 or 5 years it will be well worth your investment.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
So
Mhm.
so I don't think you should be concerned about these things. You know,
Okay.
I believe you can have a very nice life in any of these accounting jobs that we mentioned. Um, yeah, probably more so than say in finance, but I don't know.
Mhm.
I haven't,
Oh.
you know, I'm an educator all my life, so I
Mhm.
actually haven't worked, but I'm just giving you the feedback that I receive from our students and from some
Yes, of
of the
course.
employers that come to Rutgers. I think people are pretty happy with them. And the good thing is, you know, even if you don't like it in a particular firm, after 2 or 3 years with your CPA, you can easily move to another type of business. So for
Mhm.
example, if public accounting is not for you, then you can go and do internal accounting, right, with one of the big S&P 500 firms. Or if you don't like that, you can go on Wall Street and work in a hedge fund, trying to help them go through the financial statements. Or you can go doing tax work. There's just so many things that you can apply that knowledge to.
Mhm.
That it's really up to you not to be bored.
Yes.
If somebody doesn't treat you well, you know, if you're a good employee and you're very talented, you will right away find somebody else to take.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a problem. I mean, I think most people that say that life sucks as a business person, they're not actually in business.
Yeah, they're not. And
But you know, I
also,
mean, at the end of the day, it's work, right?
yeah.
So is it going to be fun all the time? Absolutely not. You know,
No.
are you going to love it? No, I mean, not necessarily.
Yeah.
But you're not doing it because you want to love it. You're doing it because you want to make a living.
Mhm.
And then you can take the money and during your free time, do what you really love.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
I keep hearing people saying, well, I want to find something that I love and do that. And I'm thinking, why? I mean, it's kind of
Mhm.
sad if you want to love a job, right? You should love something
Mhm.
else and do the job to make the money so you can have a nice life, right?
That is a
Yeah,
perfect
so you want to
example.
be careful with that, you know.
Mhm.
Very few people love their jobs, right?
Mhm.
You always hear it on TV, but they're just stories, right?
Yeah.
There are a lot of people, I mean, jobs are jobs, it's work.
Mhm.
If you had $1 billion, you probably wouldn't be working. I mean, let's be honest, right? I wouldn't be working, right? So
Yeah.
you want to find a job where you're appreciated, a job where you can grow as a person, develop professionally, be around smart people, right? And be
Mhm.
compensated accordingly. And I think accounting is not, I think accounting definitely fits that bill.
Yeah.
I mean, are you going to love it all the time? No, you won't. Is it going to like change the world in the sense that sending people to Mars would? No, probably not. You can help people that want to send people to Mars. You can work for
Yes.
them, right? You
Mhm.
can be part of their team, and you're gonna add a lot of value to them.
Yeah.
So think of it like that. But definitely
Mhm.
don't try to pick an area that you're gonna love. First of all, you have no idea if you're gonna love it or not.
Yeah.
And second
Mhm.
of all, I'm not even sure that's the right goal.
Mhm.
This idea of people loving their jobs is something very new. It's like it came around the 60s or the 70s. Before that, there was no such conversation in the nation about people loving their jobs. People got up,
Exactly.
went to work so
Mhm.
they can come home and relax.
Mhm. Yep.
And that's okay. I think that's perfectly fine.
Okay, but that being said,
Mhm.
I've been in accounting for a long time now, and I still think it is fascinating.
Uh-huh.
Is every day like a birthday party? No. But I think it is an interesting field that makes a difference to how firms operate, how markets operate, how our economy operates, and people who understand those interrelationships better can make it work better and simultaneously do better for themselves. And I think that's fascinating.
Mhm. And I also would like to know, because I was in on the finance session yesterday, and I do notice that, you know, in finance, like you have to take the accounting. So how how are, like finance as well as accounting similar in some ways?
Professor Dimitrov, since this is your
Yeah, sure.
expertise.
Yeah, I teach finance sometimes, and definitely
Mhm.
my background is in finance and investing. Um,
Mhm.
there's some overlap for sure. The finance people basically take the accounting numbers as given. So they basically build their models on top of what we provide as data. So you can think of the accountants providing the inputs and understanding the inputs and making sure those are reliable. And then in finance, they would build models on top of those inputs to try to figure out questions like, well, how much can we borrow? And
Mhm.
should we issue stock or should we issue debt? What are some efficient ways to increase the leverage of the company? All of these decisions, how do stock markets function? How do bond markets function? So
Mhm.
they would basically think of accounting as the inputs to what the finance people do, right, in their models. That being said, accounting does use some finance in accounting for certain transactions. So, for example, when we're talking about accounting for debt and equity securities, knowledge of finance is very useful to accountants. So they
Mhm.
have a symbiotic relationship. So the strongest candidates that I've seen in terms of students are the ones that have a very solid understanding of both areas.
Mhm.
So let's say you're a finance person who has very good knowledge in accounting, that will make you one of the better finance people. On the other hand,
Okay.
if you're an accountant person with a very solid understanding of finance, that would also make you one of the better accounting people, right?
Mhm.
So they are quite symbiotic in that sense. So there are a few classes that you can easily take in finance that will be very helpful in your accounting career, like corporate finance,
Mhm.
option pricing, investments. All of these would be helpful, but they're not required. We usually allow students, we will count one of your electives. We can count one of the finance classes you take towards the accounting degree as an elective. But other than that, in terms of classes, they really run quite separately. So a lot of people will do like a double major in finance and accounting.
Mhm.
Yeah. But
Thank you.
the intro classes, you must take introductory accounting classes for any business major, and you also have to take the introductory finance class for any business major, because those are required.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, there is quite a bit of overlap. And, I've seen accounting students go into the finance professions. And I've also, also sometimes seen finance people try to go back into accounting, but for them it's harder because they don't have a CPA.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about career paths, I would
Mhm.
say it's also an issue of psychology, that people who are drawn to finance are essentially risk takers because finance is risky. You're getting somebody to spend large amounts of money in the way that you've recommended and hoping that it's going to work out well for them. I would say that people who are drawn to accounting are generally people who want the security of having a set body of rules that they can apply to a situation. And luckily, you don't have to make this decision yet. Nobody has to make this decision until after they've taken all of the introductory courses, and then you can see which track seems better for you.
Yeah, definitely. And I do have a question for Dean Foster also, and I forgot to email her back because she did email me the sheet for the prerequisites. So I did the math, and it's looking like I would go over 120 credits after since I'm coming in with credits from my summer courses. So I plan on taking at least 19 credits this summer for summer 1 and summer 2. So and then I was also reading how on the website it says that on the Rutgers website it says that it recommends for students to take 6 courses. So I just wanted to know how would I go about these credits? Like it's looking like I will be in school for about 3 years, maybe.
So that's a great question, and that actually applies to I think everybody on this chat because not having your transcript in front of me. And by the way, on Monday, I'll be more than happy to do a personalized evaluation of each of your credits.
Oh, perfect.
But typically, the students who come in with an associate's degree, an AS degree, business administration, typically have a slighter advantage. And the advantage is they will have their liberal arts core waived, which you will get regardless if you have an AA or AS degree from any New Jersey County Community College. That's part of the New Jersey statewide agreement. And you'll get a maximum of 63 to 65 credits. Awesome. There's only a handful of credits that will not transfer over. Now, with exception to this semester, spring 2020, we are permitting pass-level grades, meaning if you get a P. That has only been for this semester because of the pandemic crisis. But prior to this, if you took a class in a pass-fail manner without a letter grade of C or better, it would not transfer in. College success orientation classes, health classes, gym classes, those do not transfer in either. There's just a small number of classes that are what we call non-transferable, ESL and remedial math or writing courses. Once we evaluate your transcript and your associate's degree, and you have an AA or AS degree, we'll waive the liberal arts core. Then we'll focus on what's called the major eligibility courses. And those are what the professors enumerated a few minutes ago. Your intro to financial accounting, your managerial accounting, your macro and microeconomics, calculus, or what we call applied calculus, or Calc 1, and statistics. Now, those are courses that are already embedded in an AS degree in business administration. But what if you get an AA degree in liberal arts, or you get an AA degree in criminal justice or in early child education? You can still be admitted to RBS, but it's going to put you a little bit behind because you're missing those major eligibility, what we call the pre-eligibility courses. Now, while it'll put you a little bit behind, you cannot miss those steps. They're foundational courses. And without those foundational courses, you wouldn't be able to do, first of all, you need all of those classes in order to do finance. Finance is part of the business core curriculum. You have not only your major eligibility courses, you have the business core classes. Let me see if I can bring up the what I shared before so you could see what I'm talking about. So up here is the liberal arts core. This is what we'll waive with your associate's degree. And again, you'll get a maximum 63 to 65 credits. These are your pre-eligibility, what we call your foundational courses. So most of you, if you have an AS degree in business administration, you may be just missing this one. I've noticed with AS degrees, you either have statistics or you have calculus. And I have mentioned to all of your community colleges and your advisors, the best thing to do is I'd rather you get the calculus out of the way, or just do both. I know for the AS degree you need one or the other, but for the bachelor's you need both. So Mariah, you may not have some of these. You may not have any of these. And you're going to have to build these courses into your first and second semester. And that may put you a little bit behind. But remember, there's some things in here you will be able to take. Now, regardless of the 6 majors, you have to complete all of these and all of these, regardless of what 6 major you pick. Okay? So somebody who's ready to do accounting and has financial and managerial accounting, you'll be able to jump into the cost and intermediate accounting one. However, somebody who wants to be an accounting major but hasn't done the financial or managerial accounting or any of these, you're going to have to get through these courses right now. So the long answer is yes, you will have more than 120 credits when all is said and done because you kind of changed pathways. You were going down the pathway of becoming a teacher, and then you said, oh, wait a minute, I think that, and by the way, I think you're making the absolute right decision. I agree. This is a great field to go into. But when you make those decisions, you will have to put in a little bit more time. Would you want to put in time in summer school? You can, but you don't have to. Okay?
I definitely plan on, yeah. I'm sorry for cutting off, sorry.
No. I mean, this is the tough. We've had students get admitted to RBS who thought they wanted to be criminal justice majors and then didn't do any of those major eligibilities. So they are, in essence, I would say, a semester behind.
Okay.
Because remember, you could do all those other classes and take other business core classes to catch up.
Mm-hmm. And my other question is, so I just enrolled for 6 courses in the summer, for summer 1 and summer 2, and all of those prerequisites, my school is offering them, which is perfect. And thank you for that email last night. I really appreciate it. So
my pleasure.
yeah, so I registered for the classes, so we're good to go. So the only thing is that when I was reading on the Rutgers website, it was saying how I cannot exceed, there's like a 12 credit limit, and I'm doing 19 credits basically for the summer. So even though I'm not fully enrolled in Rutgers yet, does that still apply to me once I pay for that application fee?
No, once you will not, you're not real, you're a real person, but you're not real to Rutgers until fall 2020.
Okay.
And I strongly advise students to do all of their early eligibility courses prior to coming to Rutgers. It's timely, it's cheaper, and I just find my students do much better in their home-based school. And then you'll be that much ready when you come to Rutgers. And I will say I know you're studying accountancy at Essex. I will say to you, be prepared to take your accounting level courses to another level.
Yes.
What you're doing at Essex are fantastic, foundational, but I say this to all my students. RBS accounting is accounting on steroids. Get ready. What Dr. Dimitrov said, you're going to have to put in the work. You think what you're doing at your community college is intense, it's going to be 3 times that.
Yeah.
Okay? And that is why we do not give direct equivalency for upper level community college courses in accounting, because they just don't cover the level of expertise or topics. And it's to your benefit that you take it in your major in your 4-year school, because that will make you ever more prepared for the CPA exam.
Okay. Perfect. And so do you recommend taking 5 classes? Because I definitely, one thing about my job, they are very supportive of me. So I will be, they will be okay with, making me work less. And since I did see, well, minus, I'm taking these 19 credits for this semester, I would have a total of, I want to say about like 15 courses I would have to take, or 16 courses that I would have left basically. So because I know that there are like 20 courses. So so I would be taking about 5 classes. So with the intensity of, this major, do you still believe that 5 classes will be too much on me, or is it
That's a great question.
okay.
I will tell you first off, the chancellor has a strong initiative to have you finish in 2 years, meaning doing 30 credits a year, so you're done in 2 years. We want to get you in and get you out.
Yep.
But now I'm going to take off my dean hat and just put on my advisor hat now. I really think that if you say to me, I'd rather take an extra semester and do 12 credits and do really, really well, maintain a very good GPA, because let's get honest, the firms don't say, hey, bring me all your C students, right? They want to start with the best and work their way down. So you really want to learn your craft. If it means slowing down and taking 4 classes a semester rather than 5, and you really absorbing the knowledge, doing well, and having a very good GPA, I would say to you, what's 6 months longer in your education to have the goal that you achieve? Okay? I mean, certainly the goal of every student is we like you to be between 12 and 15 credits. When you were at Hudson, what was your average semester that you did very well? Was it 4 classes or 5?
I want to say it was definitely 5, because, like you mentioned, we believe that, oh my gosh, it's so much at this school, but I didn't want to get comfortable in terms of like, oh, okay, both of the schools are the same, so I can take 5 classes, because I know that since I am completely changing my major, I want to make sure that I'm taking in a lot of information, and because I know with business, it's a lot of information. You have to be very efficient with this. So that's when I said, yes.
I will tell you, when I advise my students, I always balance a few tough classes with a few, softball.
Okay.
So you won't have 5 incredibly difficult classes.
Okay.
So when we meet for you, I'm developing a SOAR registration event where each of you will get a 30-minute individualized advisement live chat like this, but it'll be one-on-one.
Perfect.
Won't have a million people in the room because we're
Mhm.
protecting your FERPA regulations.
Mhm.
But before you come into that session, each of you will receive the curriculum guide with your transfer credits. You will know to the letter what is coming in, how many credits, and you will get a suggested list of courses, what we
Mhm.
highly recommend. We always recommend 15 credits, but the minimum is 12 in order to be considered full-time.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
you're adults. We don't micromanage you. If you say to me, I really can only handle 12 credits, that's fine.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Thank
I would
you.
like to reinforce that point for everybody who's in the room.
Mhm.
When you graduate, what you want to have is a very high GPA. That's
Yes.
your good housekeeping seal of approval that will make your potential future employers interested in you.
Mhm.
And it long term, it is a much better investment to take the extra semester if it gives you enough breathing room so that you can do really well in all of your courses. And I think you mentioned before that you're also planning to work part-time. There aren't enough hours in the day to
Yeah.
work, take 5 courses, do
Mhm.
well, and manage to sleep and eat. It's simply not possible.
Yeah, it's not. It is not. Mhm.
And this is another thing I say to all my students, whether you're in a working mom or dad, whether you're a single working person, or whether you're just coming right out of high school, ready to go to school. This is your first priority. You have to look at RDS, accounting major. That's my job. And everything else is second. So it means reprioritizing. Where do I cut back? I would say you definitely cut back on your work hours. You have to. The reality is, on paper, everything in the abstract is doable. We all envision ourselves being able to accomplish something, but it's just not reality. And by the way, I was a working student through college and through all my graduate degrees. I completely empathize. I was not one of those people that,
Mhm.
stayed at home and all I did was study. That didn't happen. Both my parents were deceased when I was in high school,
Oh,
and
sorry.
I literally went at 16 years old into college, and I was like, just add water and adult. So I completely empathize with
Yeah.
what lies before you. But I will say this to you. If you were admitted to RBS, you've already achieved the biggest hurdle. And I go back to what our esteemed professor said 25 minutes ago. You put in the work, right?
Mhm.
You will get what you want. Just keep your eye on that prize. It's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. And I'm not going to lie to you. Yes, even if you came out of Essex, Hudson, Bergen with a 3.8, you have to work damn hard for that 3.8 at Rutgers. But even more, will you feel good about yourself because you're going to say, I really achieved something tremendously.
Yeah. Mhm. And another question is that so I did my schedule for summer and I registered for precalculus. But I noticed that precalculus was under college algebra. So it's like college algebra or precalc. So
Correct.
I was wondering, do I have to change precalc to calculus one? Because at my school, it says that I would have to take precalc first before taking calculus one. So that's why I was a
So,
little confused.
That's a great question. When you go through a community college, you typically have to do what's called an Accuplacer test for math. If you were placed when you started at, I'm just going to say Hudson, just to say, it could be any school. If you tested into college algebra, then you will have to do college algebra pre-calc and then calc. If when you come to Rutgers, if you have college algebra, we will automatically place you in applied calculus, 640, 119.
Okay.
It's just a different standard. So if you do pre-calc at Hudson, you are eligible to take calculus, the applied calculus at RBS. But that pre-calc will not come in as applied calculus to Rutgers.
Oh, okay. All right. So, and I also, oh, okay, I get it, definitely. So I should just remove the pre-calc and just wait till I get to Rutgers.
I would say if you have college algebra from Hudson and you got a C or better grade, one of two things. If you feel taking pre-calculus this summer will better prepare you for applied calculus in the fall, by all means, stay in the class.
Okay.
If you feel, hey, I'm pretty good, I'm ready to do applied calculus in the fall at Rutgers, then you don't necessarily need that class. But I'll defer to you on your comfort with math.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because I've done math. I want to say the last time I've done math was in spring 2019. So, so I think I should. I was thinking about.
It doesn't sound like a bad idea for you to have it, Mariah.
Yeah, I think I should just do pre-calc.
And you can always talk to me on Monday about any particulars, if you
Yes.
like.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Please. So, Kevin, you have any questions, Diana?
Yeah, for now, I don't have no questions, but thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, me either. I don't have any.
Wonderful. Well, it's just a little after 6, and I think we should be wrapping up. Professors, do you have any final comments before we say thank you for your gracious time this evening?
I just want to wish the students good luck. I hope you guys make it through this mess that we're in right now. Just keep your spirits up and spend the time you have right now to invest in yourself, because one day this will be over, and the more you learn right now, the better off you'll be later. So if you could, focus on bettering yourself, because now is the right time to do so. And I hope you guys stay healthy and safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Certainly second those thoughts. I would also like to say that this doesn't have to be the last time that we talk about issues related to your major, your career, the courses that you're taking. Now that you've met Professor Dimitrov and me, you're certainly welcome to send us an email, or once school opens up in a physical way, stopping by our offices to chat about how you're doing or what you plan to do next. Perfect.
Thank you. Yes, that is perfect.
It's been a pleasure talking to you, and we wish you good luck and good health and a good education.
We'll see you soon. I will be seeing all of you in the fall, hopefully.
Goodbye, guys. Have a good weekend.
Bye. You too.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Anne.
Oh, it's been a